The future of TV. It will be disruptive, outside the box, on the cutting edge of the cutting edge. Inspired by synergy and innovation.
Excuse me?
Yes?
Hi, I'm sorry to interrupt. I think the future of TV would just, combine your favorite things, like live TV, on-demand titles, and access to Netflix and HBO in one place, with like a voice remote that lets you find everything easily. I mean, that's what AT&T did.
Who invited you into my commercial?
Oh, I'm sorry, I let myself in. Yeah, the door was unlocked.
Find the things you love with a single voice command. Introducing AT&T TV. That's televisionary. Visit att.com/TV. Available in select areas. Requires high-speed internet. Recommend minimum 8 megabits per second per stream for optimal viewing. Limit 3 concurrent AT&T streams. Netflix and HBO subscriptions required. Restrictions apply.
Monday morning, little Depeche Mode for you. Bernie and Sid. Bernie mentioned earlier, Judge Janine will be here next hour. But we put this time aside every Monday morning to talk to one of the brightest guys you'll ever talk to. Does a great job as the editor of the National Review. You see him often alongside our good buddy Chuck Todd as a panel member on Meet the Press. Here he is for his Monday morning visit, our good friend Rich Lowry. Rich, good morning, pal. How are you?
Hello, Rich.
Good. Hey, fellas. How's it going?
Going great.
Could be a lot worse. TGIM is what we say, Rich. Not really, right? So listen, Rich Lowry, let's talk about the presidential race. The president had a couple of rallies, one in New Hampshire last week, and the news is that Joe Biden, who, by the way, continues to lead in the polls, 31 points according to the latest Fox News poll. Liz Warren right behind him at 29, and then way down at 10% is Bernie Sanders, oddly enough. But the report is that they want to hide Joe Biden because of all these gaffes that he's making, these mistakes. As you wrote, poor kids are smart as white kids. We choose truth over facts, et cetera, et cetera. What do you think of that strategy on their part?
It never works. It's sort of a classic front-runner strategy where you're tightly controlled and you limit access to the candidate, and people don't like that. And they don't like it because it seems high-handed, and it seems like, in this case, you're hiding something. And when the something you're hiding is the candidate, that's really bad. So I don't think that's sustainable. His numbers have held up, but what's most notable in this race, the only thing that's really changed over the last 4 months or so, is the rise of Elizabeth Warren, who's clearly now eclipsed Bernie Sanders, and there's a poll, I believe, showing her leading Iowa, and she, I think, has about as good a chance of winning the nomination as Joe Biden does.
Listen, you're a big sports fan, and we often go into a game saying, it's this guy's game to lose, right? It's his match to lose, and that's where we are right now. It is President Trump's presidency to lose. There is nobody on that side, for example, here, Rich, that is so great and so promising that they're going to win based on their own merits. They're going to have to win based upon Trump's failures. And now the talk of a possible recession, people like Anthony Scaramucci calling Donald Trump a racist in the media every single day. A couple of warts coming out here for President Trump. You would agree it's his presidency to lose, and he could lose it.
Yeah, the economy obviously is the key thing. I mean, that's kind of it's not as though his base will abandon him if there's a recession, but it might knock him down from the low 40s to the high 30s, and just winning from there is really hard. And it's the one issue where he has majority support in most polls. More than 50% of people approve his handling of the economy. He's not over 50 on really anything else. So that obviously is a key thing. And that's not unique to Donald Trump. It's unique to any president. You're an incumbent president. You don't win in the teeth of a recession. Anthony, I love Anthony. He's such good company. He's such a great communicator, so articulate and fun. I just sort of don't get it. And, he's out there talking about how Trump aides need to be deprogrammed, but I don't think anyone ever should have believed in this guy like members of a cult. And, I've sort of swung in the opposite direction than Anthony, right? Because he was very pro during the campaign. I was very skeptical of the campaign. I've gotten a little, some more favorable, but I still have clear eyes about, the flaws of this guy and this president. I just think that this is where we are, and there's no alternative. So I don't sort of get how Anthony's kind of radically swung the other way.
Yeah, style-wise, I think we always knew he was flawed, to say the least, but substance-wise, he's doing pretty well. And speaking of which, Rich Lowry, you are not an economist, but you are an astute observer. How is the economy doing? I mean, this talk of a recession, is it wishful thinking, or what do you think about that?
I don't know. That the people I talk to think there's still juice left in the recovery, but there's no doubt that the trade war has been a drag. Costs consumers more. It creates uncertainty. And I think Trump is right about China and how important it is to confront China. I think he was right about it when a lot of the political establishment on the left and the right, and I include myself in that category, was dismissive of what he was saying. I've come around. I think he's right. We need to do everything we can to change China's practices. It's just the tariffs are a real blunt instrument. And the problem is, yes, they hurt China, but they hurt you as well. And Trump assumed for a long time that he was playing with house money because the economy is so strong, and that seemed right. But if he's no longer playing with house money, then this could be a self-defeating struggle.
That's the problem. I mean, this could be long-term. I think Trump is on the right track. It's enough already. We got to fix this relationship. But in the short term, talk of trade wars and tariffs, that buries us. I mean, the market has had precipitous drops now 2 or 3 times over the last month. He's kind of going back and forth with that December 15th deadline to help consumers during the holiday season. He may not have time, my point is, to wait this thing out for what I think he's right about long term, because the short term can cripple him.
Yeah, the Chinese aren't stupid, and they realize there's an election in a year, and they realize a weak U.S. economy could really hurt Trump, and they believe they're probably going to get someone better if Trump goes. So they have every incentive to wait him out. Same thing with the Iranians, I thought the play for Trump would have been to, yank their chain, get some sort of deal that's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's at least a deal, and kind of papers you over to the election, and then go at it again.
Right.
Yes, indeed, Rich Lowry. Look, the president, the Wall Street Journal reported this first, that the president is interested in buying Greenland. And, of course, it's been tried before. Harry Truman tried it in 1946 unsuccessfully. Andrew Johnson about 80 years before that. But they report that he talks about it with various levels of seriousness. And, what do you think about the whole Greenland thing? I mean, is it a distraction from Russian collusion or what?
Yeah. I just love that. Everything is a distraction from Russian collusion, right? I think it'd be a great idea if it was for sale, but they're not selling. So I think it's one of these August silly season kind of things. But if it were for sale...
Wait, you obviously didn't see Wall Street, the great Gordon Gekko. Everything's for sale, my friend. Sure. Everything's for sale.
That is true.
Yeah, I saw someone tweeting, promise every person in Greenland, $10 million per head, and then ask them to have a referendum. You win the referendum, and then you can take over Greenland. That's how you'd buy it. But I mean, it'd be great. I'm sure we'd make Greenland greater than it's ever been. If it was for sale, I'd take it. It's part of the American tradition. A lot of our territory, we did buy. So I like the way he's thinking, but I don't think it's for sale.
Rich Lowry, National Review. You see him meet the press quite often here every Monday morning with Bernie and Sid. Again, I'll go back to you being a big sports fan. And let's tackle this Jay-Z story, which is maybe the biggest story in the country today. Look, I think he's being insincere in that a year ago he was totally behind Colin Kaepernick, but money talks. I don't care how many billions you've got, money talks. So he did the deal with the NFL. On the other side, you've got Colin Kaepernick acting as if he's made the ultimate sacrifice, when I can guarantee you, Rich, he had no idea when he first took a knee 3 years ago he'd never play again. So you've got insecure Colin Kaepernick there for the cause up against Jay-Z, who's out there just collecting money. That's what we've really got here. How do you vision this?
Well, yeah, I mean, Kaepernick, I think you're absolutely right. And I think it did hurt him taking a knee, but that wasn't his purpose. He didn't realize he'd pay that price. And it hurt him because he was a real marginal quarterback by that time. So, yes, maybe if he doesn't take a knee, he's a second or third string quarterback on some team, but he's not going to be starting. And if Tom Brady took a knee, it'd be an enormous controversy. But the Patriots are still playing Tom Brady, right?
Right. That's right.
And if they're not, someone else is.
Well, I would ask you this, Rich Lowry. Excuse me. Colin Kaepernick tweeted out something. It was his third anniversary, whatever. But they keep talking about systemic oppression, this mysterious systemic oppression without pointing fingers or citing specific examples. What do you know what they're talking about when they say that?
Well, it's the idea that racism is completely pervasive and ineradicable in our society, and this has become a really popular idea. You know, Beto O'Rourke, who's flailing around out there, perhaps best represents this point of view in the Democratic primary now, where he gave a speech, over the weekend. It's just basically this country is all about racism, founded on racism. One of its great pillars is racism, and that's really what they're getting at. I think that's a profound lie. It's true that racism is a terrible sin of this country, and especially chattel slavery. But the revolution, a lot of states eliminated slavery at the time because it was a great moment of liberation and freedom. And that's the more important theme in this country, and it's one that ultimately eliminated slavery and eliminated Jim Crow. Do we just still have prejudice? Yes, and we should try to eliminate where it exists. But the idea that this is what the country is all about, and in every single police interaction with a minority, every single hiring decision, that this is the main thing, is absurd and poisonous.
Yeah, but poisonous, more dangerous is the next thing. They yell and scream about how it's a peaceful protest, and I would say to you it's anything but a peaceful protest because it has inspired people like the guy that shot down 5 cops in Dallas. It's inspired these thugs and lowlifes in New York City that basically every weekend assault one of our New York City police officers. So it is not a peaceful protest. I believe it's inspiring people to do things that are anything but peaceful.
Yeah. Well, my view, as we've talked about in the past, is anyone engaged in active violence, the responsibility is on that person alone. But you look at New York City, and Rudy Giuliani created a climate where he took a lot of hell for it, but his attitude was, I'm going to be with the cops no matter what. And occasionally he was pro cop. Occasionally they're bad cops that Rudy was initially defending because that was his instinct. But that was the really important instinct, and it was the right instinct. And you're not getting that leadership from the top at all now, obviously, and the police are balking about it because they're out there experiencing it every day.
Indeed, they are, as are the residents of the inner city who suffer from crime because the police are inactive because of the Ferguson effect, because they're afraid to take any action because they don't have the backing of the brass, and the people hate them. So therefore, the cops suffer, the people suffer. Right, exactly. So poison is the right description. Rich Lowry from the National Review, you're brilliant. We love you every Monday morning at 7:40 on the Bernie and Sid Show. We thank you very much.
Thanks so much, fellas.
All right, Rich. And, of course, when your book comes out, The Case for Nationalism, How It Made Us Powerful, United, and Free in November of this year, you can come here and promote it, and we'll make it a New York Times bestseller for you.
Thanks so much.
All right, pal.